Cool. I'm Roberto, and we are learning Rust. Okay, here with us also we have which side you are you?
Luciano, hello.
If you don't know this channel, in this channel we talk about Rust and technologies. You can find recording of the previous streams on YouTube, and if you're watching this on YouTube, we stream every Monday, 6 p.m. Dublin time on Twitch. Today we're going where we left last time. Last time we were extracting lambdas from an old monolithic piece of code that Luciano is using to send out his newsletter. And we extracted two pieces of code, one to get the quotes of the day and one to get the book. But the book was just a stub, was an empty lambda doing nothing. Now, today we will put some real code back from the monolith inside the lambda that we have. And if we have time, we will go on extracting also the piece of code that is taking the tweet from Twitter, that now is taking the toot from Mastodon, because the Twitter's API, they closed access to them. So we have to do something else.
Exactly. So should I just share my screen?
Yeah, I think we can go on reviewing what we did last time. That was that empty container for this lambda. And we can start putting real code on it. At the end of all of this, I promise you, we will write stuff in Rust. When all the infrastructure scaffolding, when all the infrastructural scaffolding is done.
Yep. So just a super quick recap. This is Full Stack Bulletin, is a newsletter where you get stuff. I'm going to just show you one. This is the newsletter from last week. So there is a quote here. There are 7 interesting links. And then there is a suggestion for a book, something like a book of the week. So in our code, what we are doing is effectively creating a step function that takes all of this information every week from different sources and compose it into a Mailchimp newsletter. Then I get a preview, I can do some manual edits and schedule it for next week. So this is kind of the workflow we are working on, just as a summary. Now, where we left it at last time is the idea is that this was originally wrote as a monolithic lambda function. So it's doing a bunch of stuff in one single lambda, which was very brittle, very hard to change. So now what we are doing is refactoring that into a step function where all the different parts of the workflow are encapsulated into their own individual step, and all the orchestration is done by the step function. So this is going to give us something that is a little bit more visual, easier to change, because, for instance, if we want to start to rewrite things in Rust, we can just rewrite one portion at a time and still keep everything working. And also, if something breaks, it should be a little bit more visual to see exactly where it broke, what was the input, what was the exception, and what was the global state of the step function at that point. But now we are kind of in progress. What we did is create issue. This step here is still doing most of the work. And we are starting to extrapolate parts of that into individual steps. So we have a big parallel block here where we fetch all the quote of the week. We fetch the book of the week. Eventually, we will fetch all the links as well. And then create issues just going to take all of that information and use it to communicate to Mailchimp. Meanwhile, we have Eva4. Thank you for joining us. Let us know if you have any question. Okay, so last time where we left out is that we started to extrapolate this fetch book code, but the work was not complete. We just have the scaffolding done, but we don't really have moved the code from create issue into here. Should we do that, or is there anything else that I'm forgetting?
No, I think we can move the fetch book code out of it and then create a new lambda, but let's start moving the code out.
Yeah, and there is a PR that we started to work on, which contains all the current changes. So this is where we are starting off from today. So we'll be trying to complete this PR.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move the code. So basically what we have is we have created this fetch book structure, but it's just an empty function that doesn't do anything. Now we have ported over some comments which represent the code that we should be adding here. But first of all, we need to add the dependencies. So we need a few dependencies. Like right now, the package JSON doesn't have any dependency. So we need to import this dependency and moment time zone as well. But
we use tech quote of the week also for the book, or we need another dependency there?
You are right. This is the code that we
Is the
copied
code
over from the other one. Yes. So we'll need to change some stuff there. Okay, so let me open create issue and we can start to see exactly what we need to do there. Sorry,
you
this
open
is
the
the
wrong package.
JSON.
Yeah, that is the right one.
So what we need is full stack book of the week, this guy, and we need moment and moment time zone. So I'm gonna open the terminal there. cd functions fetch book, and we can do npm install, save, and what we need is this guy and this particular version, and then we need moment in this version, and then moment time zone and this version. Okay, now hopefully this is gonna be easy enough. So now what we need to do, if we go to the handler, is basically copying
Where is fetching the book?
book of the week, which is there. So let's go into the other handler, fetch book. So let's start to copy stuff. Then we need to import moment from moment time zone.
Yeah, you had that commented there, but okay.
I'll clean up in a second. So we need to get the same logic there.
For the book, yeah, where this is still for the quote.
The week number. So we need to do this thing. Week number is now, and where is now? So we need those two lines. I'm gonna copy. Oh, actually, I think we have them here. Yeah. So let's remove all of this, and we need those two lines. And now this one is what's gonna be different because this time we need
book of the week. Where do you call it?
Week. There we go. Book.
Oh, well, it's very similar.
And rather than returning blah, we just return book.
We don't need to console log here because the step function are keeping all the states between the various step of the various lambdas. So it's a little bit overkill to log stuff when in this case we just take data in, data out. No, not even data in here, it's just data out.
Exactly.
And we can see that when we run the lambda in the graphical interface of AWS.
Exactly. It will be very obvious to see what's the event and what's going to be the output and how the output gets mapped to the global state of the step function execution.
Yeah.
So that should be everything we need for this particular function. What we also need to do now is in the handler of the, what is it?
Of the create issue.
Of the create issue, we need to remove all this logic because now we just get it globally. So what we need to remove is
book of the week, line 9, I suppose.
Book of the week, line 9, yes. We need to remove the part where we do this, and we can just copy this one pretty much. So just do the same. So event.book, and that's it. Now we can also remove the dependency, the book of the week dependency.
Do you still need the week now? Or
yes, because we do use that as part of the...
okay, for the creating the mailing list.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
I think, let's double check that. I'm quite sure we do, but basically if we check week number, yeah, we use it, for instance, for the campaign name.
Okay, perfect.
Which is something I want to change eventually. So I think eventually we'll be able to remove this from the main core, because
for now we keep it.
Originally, when I started this newsletter, I was doing something like year 2023 week X, but then at some point I realized that it was a bit cooler to have an incremental number. So eventually I moved from just an incremental numbers. So if we check the last issue here, is issue 328. And it's something that I'm doing manually every week. Just check whatever was the previous number and increase it. And it would be cool, actually. This could be a good candidate for a first Lambda in Rust to do a scraper that goes into this page and gets the latest number from here, increases by 1, and that's going to be the number that you get in a new draft. So that could be a Lambda that runs even before all the fetching.
In parallel with all the other fetching. In the end, it can run in parallel of them.
Yes, it could also run in parallel. I guess it depends if we want to use that number also to randomize the quote or
Yeah,
the book.
okay, that's true. No, well,
we
now,
can decide there. Okay, so the last thing we need to do is we remove that. So we need to do cd
npm
cd create issue npm prune, which removes the dependencies we cleaned up. Okay, so now I think we should be able to deploy. I just want to check one thing, because last time we introduced a dry run option, and that dry run option allows us to do a bunch of stuff, but not to send the newsletter. But I think we put the dry run very high there, and we can just move it below.
Where do you think of putting it?
Just before we do the Mailchimp stuff. So I don't want to create a campaign, because that's the... So probably here. So something like not campaign created, something like that. Okay, should we deploy?
Yes, let's see.
All right, so some deploy. The chat is
Are you in the right
quiet.
folder?
I'm not in the right folder. Thank you. So while we deploy, because this is always the most boring part, if you have any question, don't be shy. Feel free to write it in the chat.
Yeah, this is the most boring part. In alternative, we could compile some Rust code.
Then we have a lot of time for...
Then we will have more time. I was trying the other week at work some Rust for incremental katas to mentor the team. And we went down the rabbit hole of iterator on top of STRs with lifetime.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, in the end, we were able to do some nice stuff, not cloning, not reallocating, but I still feel dirty because there was some mutability in it. And
right.
Yes, I would like to have more immutable stuff if possible, but still was a couple of variables to keep track of the state. And the state of the iterator is mutable by definition. I mean, how can you not have that as a mutable? Is it done?
It is done. So let's test it. So what we can do a new execution of the state machine. So start execution, we can say dry run true, and start execution, and let's see what happens. And if it didn't blow up, so this is positive.
Okay.
We can start to see what was the book. Okay, so there is an ID, there is Irresistible API, is the title, author Kirsten Hunter, links for Amazon, cover picture, description. Great. So the issue was
quote, book.
So we have the quote, dry run true, and the book. Perfect. So I think we can merge this PR and start to extract more logic into
and
another.
then we can start to extract the stuff that retrieves the tooth.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay, so let's do all of that. So git status, git add all.
And now we have the interesting problem. We have to remember to move the secrets from one lambda to another, because now the lambda that needs the API key for Mastodon is not the monolithic one, but it will be the new one.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to do a little bit of scaffolding, and then what are we returning? An array of values, of objects.
Yeah, I guess we can check what we are getting in the current handler and assume that that's going to be produced as part of the global state.
Okay.
Okay, so let me go to GitHub. So this is our current PR. It's not work in progress anymore. So we can mark it ready for review. But I mean, we are reviewing it right now, I guess.
Yeah.
If we want to have a super quick look, what we did is basically taking all this part is new. So we created a new folder inside the functions folder. So there is a new function, lambda function in the step function with its own handler, its own package JSON. The handler is the one we just wrote right now. So very simple. Package JSON just contains a few libraries. And then what we did is the equivalent code we have here now was removed from here, pretty much.
And we changed the state machine and the template.
Mm-hmm. So now rather than calling this function here, it's just taking it from the state. And also we have this dry run there, which we added for convenience. And the state machine definition, what we did, it's a bit involved here because there was...
we had to nest the old lambda into a parallel line 5.
Mm-hmm.
And we had to fight a little bit with indentation in YAML.
Exactly. By the way, meanwhile, last time we had a bit of trouble figuring out the right syntax. I discovered something that could be interesting, which is basically this extension, AWS. Which one is it? Is it this one? I think it's this one.
To make our life easier.
So this one will give us code completion and syntax highlighting for step function definition. So
nice.
Let me drop this one in the chat. Can you share it? Is there like copy extension URL?
ID. What is the extension ID?
Let's find out. Well, it's not a URL, but if
more or less.
Copy will give us something more interesting. Okay, so there you should be able to get the extension. But just to demonstrate what it does, if we go here, which is the step function definition, is just a YAML file, so it's very easy to get something wrong. But now if we do blah, it complains that blah is not a supported field.
Nice.
So at least we have this kind of validation before we deploy it, then it fails, then we try to figure out what went wrong. So the feedback loop should be a little bit faster. Okay, so let's see if we are ready to merge. Well, the changes here are just introducing the new state in parallel and mapping the dry run and the book. Then the other changes here is that we have in our template. So template is the place where we define all our resources for this project. So we have a new resource, which is a new lambda. So we define that and
new policy,
and the lambda definition is here. Doesn't really need anything special because it doesn't need to access other AWS services. It doesn't need environment variables. So it's very simple. It just points into the code. Timeout is
Nice.
very generous, 15 seconds. This could be even like a few seconds, but for now, this is fine.
That depends on if the lambda takes a while to start. They should not, but who knows?
Okay, so all green. Let's squash and merge.
And we can create a new branch now for the tweets.
Exactly. So git checkout master
For the messages.
or the links.
The links, yeah.
Git checkout. What do we call it? Extract fetch links.
Yeah. Fetch links. Let's do it. So now we have to create the blank JavaScript application, fetch links alongside the other ones.
So let's do it here. New folder, fetch links. And if we go here, we can do cd fetch functions, fetch links, npm init y, and npm pkg set type module, which basically, if you don't know this tip, will set.
What is it?
Did it work? There, type module. So we can use ECMAScript modules. And now we create an handler. So touch handler.js. And here the handler is going to be basically, let's just copy this for now. And let's just
call it fetch links.
Let's call it fetch links. Good point.
And return an empty array.
Let's return an empty array for now. Okay, and this is a to-do. So this is what we want to do today in terms of code.
Now we have to do the wire up in terms of architecture, of infrastructure, sorry.
So let's do the definition first, the lambda in the template. So what we want to do here is we need to have a new function. So we have fetch book. Let's copy all of this. And let's call it fetch links function.
Change the URI.
Links.
And
this
the handler.
Fetch links. And for now, this is fine. We'll need to add environment variables.
Timeout is not too small.
Timeout.
I mean, how
be
fast
small. So here we have 300. So let's bring it up to 300 for now.
Yeah.
Which is probably too much, but let's be conservative.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now you have to define the policy and
now here, we need here to define fetch links function, fetch links.
Yeah, that is taking the ARN and we'll pass it to the other file, and we have to add the policy after line 66.
So just to explain what this is doing, this is basically the definition of the step function itself, so the state machine, which needs to be able to reference the new lambda function, but also to invoke it. So we need to add this, which is basically saying you can do a lambda invoke on fetch links function. Okay, now the last thing we need to do is basically change the step function definition. So we have another step we can run in parallel. So we will have a new branch here. So here we can add links $, which is going to be that.
I suppose we have to add it at the end of this list if we want to have it as
exactly. So let's copy all of this for now and change whatever we think needs to be changed. So it's called fetch links, fetch links is the name of the state. Type task fetch links function. So this is the part where we needed
We are
this entry.
using, yeah.
So this is going to be substituted by some. When we do the deployment, is going to take the ARN of that lambda function and inject it inside here. Now, output path is basically from what the lambda produces, what do we want to keep? Everything. And where do we want to map it in the state of the lambda function? So it's going to be links. What do we do in case of errors? If all these errors happen, we will wait for 2 seconds and retry for a maximum of 6 times with a backoff rate of 2 seconds. And in this branch, this is the only thing we do. So when this is done, that branch is over. I think that's everything we need. Does that make sense?
I think so.
We can try to deploy and see what happens. What we expect to see
is an empty lambda.
Wrong folder again. What we expect to see is that now our parallel step will have 3 branches rather than 2. And there will be this new lambda. So here we should see in the diff a few interesting things. We should see a new lambda, a new policy, a new log group.
Add and modify the old state, obviously, because we have to accommodate the new lambda.
Yep, so let's deploy this. Meanwhile, we have a question in the chat. How to handle Scrum Masters? Oh, that's an inflammatory question. I'm gonna refrain from answering because I'd like to get more context from you.
Ah, you mean micro waterfall? Yeah, Scrum.
Yes.
Just not having them using Kanban. That's the solution.
That's one solution. It might not work in every company, but
you can push for it. People say that I'm not opinionated enough, so I'm getting better.
Opinions are always good. Okay, come on, Sam, do your magic.
How do you use semi in production? I mean, you are not deploying in production from your laptop normally. You have a pipeline to do that.
Mm-hmm. Or if I'm deploying, it's like a dev environment. It's not the production environment.
Can you do a GitHub action to deploy in production when you are merging to main?
Yes, that's actually something I've done in some projects. Actually, it's pretty cool that in AWS you have something that they call like an IDC provider, which allows you to authenticate a GitHub action automatically. You can let it assume a role. So basically, you don't need to copy paste hard-coded credentials from AWS into GitHub action, but you can basically tell AWS to allow GitHub action to assume a specific role every time an action is triggered for a given repository, and then you give it a role that is scoped down only to the things that action is supposed to do. So if that action can deploy a new lambda, you can say it can only deploy a lambda in this region with these characteristics, but it cannot create an EC2 machine, for instance.
Let's look at the new state machine. Thank you for the explanation. I will try that one day.
Okay, so let's look at the state machine. This is the previous version. So if now we refresh, let's do edit very quickly. Okay, we can see that now there is a third state, fetch links. Now let's try to execute it with dry run just to see that everything still works. I hope.
It should just pass through one empty array.
And we should get an empty array, yes. Okay, now we have 3 branches. Fetch links should give us an empty array. Links is empty, nice.
What is input in create issue now?
create issue as input, quote, dry run, book, and links that is empty.
Okay, let's do a lift and shift the code.
Which is going to be a bit boring, but I think this is the last bit where then we can start to decide to either rewrite something entirely, rewrite it in Rust, change the logic, because at this point we have a good structure. Okay, so let's do that. I'm just going to close this one. So now to lift and shift the code is going to be interesting. Let's try to do it this way. We have the handler here, and the other handler is going to be
create issue. It's closed. You have to open the folder.
Create issue, and there are a bunch of files that we need to move over.
Okay. This one is split in multiple places.
So this one was using this best scheduled tweets, which is kind of a library, so it shouldn't be a big issue. But this is basically all the logic. It's inside here. Let's look at the handler first. So what the handler is doing is basically initializing a bunch of clients that are needed. The S3, which is used to manage the blacklist. And the blacklist is basically making sure that if an article or a link was selected in a previous issue, it's not going to be repeated again, maybe next week or in a 2 weeks. So it's kind of we have already selected these links. Let's not select them
You
again.
keep your state in S3, not in the lambda, obviously, because you can't.
Exactly. So it's going to be persistent across executions over time. And then we have to use Mastodon, Facebook, Cloudinary, and for every one of these services, we have a client. So we have to initialize the client with the proper secrets.
Okay, Mastodon is for getting the messages. Facebook is to rate the messages.
The links, yeah. And then Cloudinary is to resize the images that we select for every link. And then fallback image client is when we are not able to find an image for that specific link, we just get one generic image from Unsplash. So
are you creating the image always, even if you don't use it?
We always use an image.
No, I mean the create fallback image.
Oh, no. That's done only. Where is it done? Fallback image client. Yes. So this get links is basically what we need to move into.
Plus all its dependency. Yeah. Okay.
Plus all its dependencies. And I think everything else we can leave it into this particular function.
Yeah. Okay. So even the upload of the images.
This one we could decide. It could be another function.
How can you pass the image? But you pass the link. You don't pass the images.
But the links are. I think that the images will be mutated. Basically, I think this image uploader. I don't remember actually how it's done. What do we pass? On links with images. Yeah, the image uploader takes all the links and I think returns a new version of the links with the new URLs. So this is the final thing we use to create the newsletter, if that makes sense. So this will contain all the actual images link.
Okay, so we can move line 78 and everything above it that is using it. What is the persistent memoids?
Oh, this is a crappy thing I did. Well, it's not crap. I mean, there is a reason, but it was more for developing than for real-time execution. So it's basically every time you run this code, because it was using so many APIs and I could bump into rate limits, what it will do is if the inputs don't change, it's going to store it locally in the file system, the result, and it's like a cache. It's just going to give me the result straight away without calling all the APIs. So it's kind of, it's a memoize too.
Now, the steps of Mastodon client, are you passing that into Facebook? And then from Facebook, you're passing it to something else? Can that become single small lambdas, or is better, in your opinion, to keep all of them together?
So for the first step, I will keep everything in one lambda just for
Okay.
simplicity, but then we could split it down into multiple steps. Just for instance, what we do is once we select 7 links, we need to scrape them to get all the details.
Mm-hmm.
And right now we are just doing everything in one lambda. Okay, it's not JS, you can use async away, it's not a big deal. But what we could do is we could funnel out that with a map state and dedicated lambdas. So maybe that's something that we can easily rewrite in another language, framework, whatever, just because maybe it's easier with those languages to scrape information from the web. And then if we need to do it for 7 or if we need to do it for 200, it's kind of easier to scale that way.
Okay, so to change the code, now our code will become const links equal event.links, but we have to move everything else outside.
Exactly, yeah. So the goal is to do const links equal event dot links. Okay, so let's start to move everything outside. So I'm just gonna copy everything from here actually and copy paste it in the other file. And then we start to move things.
Look what we need.
Exactly.
We need the S3 client.
We do need the S3 client because that's
Okay.
used to select the links. We need Mastodon, we need Facebook, we need Moment, I don't think so.
Do you know what we forgot in the infrastructure?
No.
To move the variable that we need here, process env, S3 data bucket name, all of them.
Oh yeah, we'll need to do
The
all of that, yes.
credentials.
And we
Okay,
don't
we
need
can do
all of
that
them because Mailchimp still stays in the other function.
in the other one. Yeah, we need some of them.
So AWS, Mastodon, Facebook, Moment, I think we don't need it, so I'm just going to remove it. Axios, we need it. Cloudinary, best scheduled tweets, which doesn't make sense anymore as a name because it's not tweets, but it's toots, but whatever.
Oh, well.
And
we have to copy the folder for that.
And we need to copy the folder. Then we need persistent memoize, upload images to Cloudinary, add campaign URLs. What this one does, I don't remember. Let's double check. Oh yeah, this one makes sure that so we will need that week number. So this one makes sure that every URL has the UTM query string parameters that says that basically will tell the website whenever there is a link, this link is coming from Full Stack Bulletin. And that link contains campaign number, whatever. So let's go back here, and I think we'll need to use Moment for now. Okay, so we need this one, and we don't need create campaign factory. I think we'll need a blacklist manager. Hey, hello, Hammers99. How are you today? And create fallback image client. Okay, so we need almost everything except the part where we create the newsletter. So I'm just gonna copy all of this for now and move it inside of here, and we delete all of this. Cool. So S3 we need it. Data bucket we need it. Mastodon client we need it. Facebook we need it. Cloudinary we need it. Fallback image client we need it. Week number, year, campaign name. This one we
Campaign name is probably
not needed. So let's.
But it's used by the blacklist manager. Why is used by the blacklist manager?
Oh, because maybe we use it to. Right. I think that there might be a reason. I think there was some feature like if I regenerate the same campaign again, don't consider the one from the latest. So I think we also store in the blacklist which campaign they were in.
Because if you regenerate campaign 23, the links in campaign 23 can be reused. They are not
Exactly. Yeah.
blacklisted.
I think that was the reason. So let's keep it for now. So quote, we don't need that because this is gonna happen in the other. Lambda, get links, this is the core logic, so we need all of that. Now this is
You can remove the to-do because the to-do goes in the other piece.
Image uploader, we need to do all of that. Links with images, links with campaign URL. And I think, yeah, we don't need all of that.
Axios is needed to create the campaign.
Yeah, so probably we can remove Axios as well.
So here you can return links
with campaign URLs.
Yeah. That is an
And
array.
dry run is going to be in the other one. Create campaign, new blacklist. Actually, this one is interesting. New blacklist. I guess we can do this before creating. So
before returning, yeah.
Exactly.
Do you need to catch the error and console log the error now that we are using step functions?
Probably not, because we actually want to retry if something fails, and the step function will do that. And it's also going to show us the error anyway.
So before
here,
that line, you can paste, yeah.
Okay,
And
so
I would
then
remove all
let's
all
clean
the
up
error.
everything.
Also the error handling, I would remove it.
And I think we can also get rid of Axios as well. And also here the try.
Yeah, now
So
it says that
Axios is
Axios
red.
is not.
Yeah. Okay, so now the next step is to start to move over that all the dependencies included the files that are in the other Lambda.
Yeah, dependency in the package JSON and the best scheduled tweets folder.
So let's copy this one, the tests. I think we will need to copy something from the tests, but for now, let's leave it there. Campaign URLs, blacklist manager. Ooh, what is this get link label based on URL? Where is this one getting used?
Is that one getting used?
I think this one is used by the Mailchimp part. Because this is basically in every link, depending what kind of link it is, it's not going to be like a read article, which is the default, but it can be watch video on Vimeo or YouTube or view repository if it's a GitHub project.
Yeah.
So I am assuming that we don't need this one. So let's take this one,
the folder,
persistent memory, upload images to Cloudinary, and best schedule tweets. So let's copy all of this into here. And then
for the package JSON, what we need?
For the package JSON, we need, let's copy all of this and then let's see what we can remove.
You have to do that from the console, or can you just copy and paste?
We can do this and then do an npm install. So we saw we didn't need Axios, that's for sure. We probably need async, debug, Facebook, meta extractor, yes, moment, time zone, normalize URL, object path. I think we'll need all of the other ones. Okay, this is very old code because the request is not maintained anymore. It's deprecated, but whatever. When we rewrite everything in Rust.
We will rewrite everything in Rust, so yeah. And your newsletter after that one will be powered by Rust.
Exactly. So get link label. Here we need this test as well. So I'm gonna copy all of this and move it.
But are you running the
Here.
test where you compile?
We run the test in the CI/CD when we do a PR. So we don't need this one. Okay, now the handler, is it happy? Why is it red?
Remember an npm installer?
Scheduled for. Oh yeah, we are never using this scheduled for because this logic is in the other one. Now we need to do an npm install and we still need to move all the environment variables.
The environment variables, yes.
Okay, so let's do the npm install. So let's do cd functions fetch links. It's gonna complain about deprecated stuff and vulnerabilities.
We will fix it changing language.
Yes. Okay, that's done. So the next step is to do the template YAML and to start to move out all these variables.
These ones are specific of every different lambda. Yeah, these are in the
And also the policies, because we need to be able to interact with the data bucket, which is the place where we store the blacklist. So let me copy all of this and then we'll remove what's not needed.
At which level you need them?
Here, I think. Below architectures, yes. Okay, so we need cache directory, Mastodon base URL, Mastodon access token, Facebook and Splash, Cloudinary, Mailchimp. We
Everything
don't need
Mailchimp
all
can
of
go
that.
away.
And S3 data bucket name, yes.
The data bucket name is defined in this file somewhere.
It is defined somewhere there as a resource. Well, no, it's actually a parameter. So it's a bucket I created manually, I guess, at some point, and here is just a reference.
Okay, so Sam is not creating the bucket for you. It would be possible to create the bucket with Sam or not?
It would be possible, and I think it's also possible if you create it manually to import it in the stack, and then if you delete the stack, the bucket gets deleted as well. But right now, I don't think it's worth trying to do
Yeah,
that.
I was just curious. So we did everything in theory, everything is wired up, and if we do a dry run, we should see some articles.
Let's see if we are able to deploy. And right now we are running the Lambda. The Lambda should be producing the array of links, but we are going to totally ignore all of that because haven't
you
changed
don't have new links.
And also because we haven't changed the actual handler.
The original one?
The original one, yeah.
Do you want to change it now?
Let's do a deploy first, just to make sure that at least what we changed so far works as expected, and then if it does, we can clean up everything else. So let's do some deploy. And let's see what happens. We could have done an npm test as well, but next time. Let's be brave.
Sam is deploying even if the tests are failing.
Exactly, yeah. Sam doesn't care. Come on. Okay, so what is it doing? It's modifying the lambda, it's modifying the state machine, it's modifying the role because now we need to be able to read secrets and we need to be able to interact with S3. And it's also changing the function itself. Why are we changing the create issue function? What did we change there? Oh yeah, we added like a comment. We added that to do.
Yeah,
comment.
the to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, the to do. Yes.
So it's not really a change, but it is considered a code change anyway. Come on. We need to
On
put
YouTube.
some music.
Yeah, when you put the video on YouTube, you should accelerate these pieces.
Exactly. Okay, so start execution. I run to start. Now this fetch link should take a little bit longer and do more stuff and produce some interesting output. Let's see if that's the case.
Where do we see the logs of this lambda?
We can see them here, logs.
But well, it was not that slow.
Okay, so we do have some links. And for every link, we have a title, URL, description, image, which is on Cloudinary already, the score, original image, campaign URLs, a second link, third link. Nice. So this seems to work. Okay, so now what we can do is to clean up the create issue and then wire things together, update all the policies and environment variables, try if it still works. And if everything still works, I think we can call it a day and
Yeah,
we
I
are
think
in a
so.
good state. So let's try to do that quickly. Okay, so actually, let me do a commit because this is probably a good point to do a commit. So, well, actually, git status, git add. Let's do an npm test. We do have duplicated tests now because we'll need to clean up, but
It's going to complain about it? No,
no.
I don't think so. They are in different folders.
Git add all, git status. Looks good. There is no node modules. Cool. Git commit moved logic for get links to dedicated. And now my favorite command. Okay, so we already have a remote branch and we will create a PR hopefully by the end of the stream. Let's start to clean up. So
yeah, we don't need a folder anymore. The best scheduled tweets folder can go. You're starting from the environment.
I'm starting from environment variable. So we don't need the cache directory. We don't need Mastodon-based URL, Facebook,
I think you just need
Mailchimp.
Mailchimp. The S3 bucket is needed or not? No.
I don't think so.
Cool.
Then we don't need to interact with the S3 bucket anymore.
But we need to interact with
we
SSM.
still need to interact with some secrets like this one and this one. Okay, so that's it in terms of... Actually, this one now can be much shorter, I believe.
Depends on how fast are the Mailchimp APIs.
It's not going to be 300 seconds, right?
No, 5 minutes.
Let's put it to 60.
60? Yeah. Even the one that fetch the links, do you think 60 is not reasonable?
I think it's reasonable.
Okay. Now we moved the environment variables
create
to now
issue.
files.
Create issue. This one can go. Delete. Tests. We can remove this one. Now add campaign URLs, blacklist manager, and persistent memoirs and upload were all moved to the other one. And now
Get
if we
link label is still needed to tell the label.
I think so. Now here what we can do is start to remove stuff.
Remove the code, then it will mark the stuff as not used anymore.
Exactly. So we shouldn't need an S3 client. So let's start to remove that one. We don't need
Data
data
bucket,
bucket.
blacklist manager,
We don't
Facebook.
need Facebook Cloudinary, fallback image client. Okay, we still need to figure out what is now, and we still need to schedule for we need it. Reference moment, I think we need it. So week number here, campaign name, blacklist.
You have to remove it.
We have to remove it. Blacklisted URLs, we need to remove it. Quote, we still need it. Book, we still need it. Links, we finally can do this. So remove this one and use this one. And we can probably, actually, we can remove all of this. And we can say retrieve links. Image uploader, we did this one and the other one, right?
Yeah.
So now links is already with images and with campaign URLs.
You have to keep Axios.
We need to keep Axios, create campaign settings. Okay. Links with campaign URLs, now it's just called links. And now the blacklist, we were updating it in the other Lambda. And now what we return is links, and blacklist, we don't care.
Do you want to remove the try catch even from this one? Because we
actually makes sense. Let's make it simpler. Also create issue. What do we export here? Why do we export it also as a default? I don't think we need to do that. Okay, now it's telling us all the things we can remove. AWS, Facebook, Cloudinary, and all the other things. So let me also open this one on the side.
So we remove also the dependency from the package JSON.
Mm-hmm. Can we move it here at the bottom? Cool. So AWS SDK can go. Then Mastodon, which is Megalodon, can go. Megalodon. Facebook can go. Still need Moment. We still need Axios, Cloudinary. Where is it?
Let's see.
Oh, there it is. There it is. Can go. This one was a local file we moved. This one we moved. Persistent memoirs we moved. Upload images. We did that. Add campaigns URL.
No, we did it in the other one. Yeah.
Yeah, and create campaign factory. Blacklist was moved to the other one, and this one was moved as well. So I think everything else is needed. So that's probably it.
You have to do an npm prune.
We need to do an npm prune. I suspect that there are also other dependencies we can remove. For instance, this meta extractor was probably a dependency on this one. Let me double check this for a second. If we go in actually, let's do it this way. It's probably,
can you search meta extractor
exactly
in the project?
That's what I want to do. Let's start with this one. Async. in create issue. Find in folder. Is there an import from async? No. So we can remove async. Let's see, Axios. Axios should be there. Import Axios. Okay. Debug should be there as well. Should. It's not there.
I don't see. I don't know what the bug does, but okay.
Debug is like a console log that you can turn on and off with environment variables. So you can have very verbose stuff, which you can enable only if you want to troubleshoot something. But we are not using that anymore, so let's remove it. Add extractor. It's not imported, so we can remove it. Moment should be there and moment time zone as well. Import moment and import moment time zone. Normalize URL should not be there, I guess.
Yeah, probably was in the other piece that we.
Exactly, it's all in the package lock and the package JSON.
The other pieces of code that we removed.
Object path, also that. I suspect that we will remove all of this as well. Object values used. Request not used. I think we are not using request anymore anywhere anyway. Source map not used.
You were using it when you were compiling with Webpack.
Exactly, with Babel and Webpack. Truncate, we are actually using this one. And UTM builder.
It's probably used in the other one, UTM build.
Exactly, yeah. Okay, so we can remove this. Cool. So now we can do a nice functions, create, issue, npm prune. And at this point, we should be good to go, I think. How can we test this?
You have to create a campaign, so you have to not do a dry run.
But if we do a dry run, it's still doing a good amount.
So yeah, it's doing everything, even creating the campaign settings, and it's just not calling Mailchimp.
Mailchimp. So we should have a good feeling.
Mailchimp has some parameter like create a campaign in some dry run mode, or
oh yeah, by default is a draft. So even if we create it, it's not a big deal. We can log into Mailchimp and delete it manually. Okay, so let's do a deployment.
Yeah. Then we do a commit if everything works. And we create the pull request. The tests were green, right?
Actually, I didn't run them, so good point.
Do you have a second terminal while it uploads?
Yes. So meanwhile, let's start the deployment. Let's be very confident. Seems green enough, and I think we removed all the duplicated tests.
Okay, it's for updates. Modify the lambda, the function, the role, and the state machine. What we changed? We removed the environment variables. That is considered a change in the state machine, right?
Is it?
I don't know, because it's modifying the state machine. It's not removing those variables, the only stuff we did.
If we change a function, it's going to have to point to the latest version of that function.
Yeah, okay. Also, we removed the policy for S3 and everything around it. So,
okay, so I think we can do another execution. Let's do a dry run first. Then, if this goes well, we'll try not to
dry run.
Exactly.
When we dry run, is writing in the blacklist?
It is writing in the blacklist, but
we should not write in the blacklist if it's a dry run.
But if it uses the same week number, it shouldn't be a problem.
Oh, okay, but yeah, in theory you should guard the writing in the blacklist in theory with the dry run. It makes sense.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Well,
we can do the change later. It shouldn't be a huge side effect because as long as we are in the same week, yeah,
you're fine. But in theory, when you do a dry run, you don't want to blacklist links because you're doing a dry run.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it didn't explode. I am surprised. So let's see.
The output of all of this is
links are there. So there should be only links. What did we, oh yeah, we did not, did we return? What do we return in case?
Yeah, but we are mapping that return value to something.
Oh, if it's dry run, we only return the event. We don't return anything else. So we need to check the logs to see the campaign settings.
Okay, let's go in the logs then.
Okay, and these settings, to be fair, yeah, I don't see why this shouldn't be working. Let's actually run without dry run and see what happens. Because, I mean, this is just going to log configuration otherwise.
Do you suggest, instead of logging stuff when you do this kind of dry runs, to add to the return value of the functions just a key with the phrase this was a dry run, because it's easier to see the input and output of states than going in the logs, probably.
You mean something in the return? So what we could do is do this, right? And just say something dry run through.
Yeah.
Yeah, that could make sense. But I'm not gonna deploy this again right now because
no.
Let's just run it without the dry run.
It was just.
And now, as that happens, I'm gonna log in another tab in Mailchimp. And of course, it's not remembering my credentials.
So now you have to read them out loud.
Exactly. So it's taking a bit longer, which is a good sign. It didn't fail. This is good. All campaigns. We do have July 24th. Okay, so this is working. Let me bring it on screen. This is what was created. We can preview. So testing dark scenarios, coding randomized. And because I only have tweeted, well, whatever, mastodonted 3 things, there are only 3 links for now. So the other ones are just placeholder. But I mean, throughout the week, I will be sharing more links and they will be candidates for the newsletter. So that's good.
Nice.
Cool.
Is working.
Let's do a commit, and I think we are at a good point to stop for today.
Yeah. We can wrap it up.
So lots of deleted files just because we moved them from one place to the other.
Do you also, well, you will create the pull request offline. There is no need of creating it now.
Create issue step. Yes, I'll do the pull request later. All right, so
let's wrap it up.
Let's wrap it up. Yes.
Okay, you can find the recording on YouTube. The link is on Twitch in the About section. If you're watching this on YouTube, we do live streaming on Twitch every Monday, 6 p.m. UTC. Make sure to check the Twitch link in the YouTube description. Give us a follow so you can be notified. Feel free to leave us any kind of comment or pull request, offenses. Everything is well accepted. We're trying to learn Rust, so don't expect our solution to be the cleanest and more idiomatic ones, even because this time we wrote Node, so it's not a idiomatic Rust for sure. Next time we will start rewriting stuff in Rust.
Yes.
Trust me. Yeah, if you know better ways of doing stuff, let us know. Thank you for the engagement in the chat. Are we raiding somebody?
Yes, we are ready to raid. So see you everyone. Bye.
Bye.